Usyk beats Anthony Joshua in a dominant 12-round decision. Unbelievable. Out the bat, I tell you what, I'm really, really disappointed. I love AJ. I love the person that he is outside the squared circle. However, can we be honest? AJ is not a very good technical boxer. He lacks the fundamentals. His jab is very lazy. His head movement is practically non-existent. His hands carry low sometimes. He's a brilliant puncher. If he connects, very similar to Wilder, right? If he connects, he can get you out of there like he's done all of his previous opponents. Vlad, Dillian White. But he's just not a boxer. I wonder what the game plan was, lads. I just didn't see one. Are you planning to box with Usyk? Usyk has a fantastic amateur record, more than 300 fights. You're telling me the plan was to go out there and jab and move with this chap? Are we having a laugh? I thought you were meant to hatch game plans according to your strengths. AJ's strength is that he is a puncher. He can take you out. Go and knock him out. Go and try and knock him out. Cut off the ring. He's coming up a weight. Shouldn't be able to hurt you, AJ. Stalk him, cut off the ring, and take this dude out of there. And if it doesn't work, cool. But ultimately, the plan speaks to your strengths. What was the plan? The plan to me looked like you were trying to jab and box and move with this master tactician Usyk, who has 300 plus amateur fights. What are we doing? AJ wants to have a word with his team, man. If that was the plan, all of them man need to get sacked. All of them. Eddie Hearn included. The more that I think about it, Eddie Hearn was daft sending AJ into this fight with Usyk. Wait it out. What happens now? We're going to rematch. Rematch? What's the rematch going to look like? Crazy. So Usyk dominated every facet of this fight for all but maybe 2 or 3 rounds when it looked like AJ was coming on strong and figured him out. Turns out, ultimately, that Usyk was probably just taking those rounds off and then came on strong later. Conserved energy, just like Floyd used to do, with a view to come on and stop AJ later on. In fact, had it been old school 15 rounds, AJ would have got stopped, no doubt about it. Why are we boxing and moving with the smaller, faster guy who's coming up a weight? He shouldn't be able to take your punches. So why don't we cut off the ring and try and get this guy out of there? It's got to be the game plan. I didn't see it in there, just didn't see it. AJ always does this thing as well where his equilibrium looks a bit off. It's almost like his body can't carry the weight, right? Even though he's slimmed down substantively for this fight. AJ's head movement was practically non-existent for me. His hands low. He just has very little defensive responsibility. His movement was poor. He wasn't cutting off the ring. He was following Usyk around. I just didn't see any sort of cohesive game plan there. And there may have been one, but AJ just didn't have the tools to back it up. And unfortunately for me, that's always been the way with AJ. I feel like he's gotten by in fights because of his power, very similar to Deontay Wilder, that the touch of death in his right hand has masked over the defensive flaws and the fundamental gaps that AJ's always had. Let's remember, in all fairness, that AJ, he's been rushed through the ranks, right? Amateur fighters normally have 100 fights before they climb into the professional. AJ didn't have that. Did he have 30? He didn't have that many. He definitely didn't have the 300 that Usyk fights. It's unfair. The dude's got so much more experience. It's not fair. Let's talk about the things that Usyk did so brilliantly. His movement was incredible. Lead, foot, dominance that's so critical when you have fights between southpaw and orthodox fighters. Movement and defensive responsibility. He was elusive and still efficient with his energy, countering over the lazy AJ jab all day, investing in body punches early. It was an absolute masterclass, taking a round off when he needed to then make sure he could come on late. It's a masterclass, reminiscent of Pretty Boy Floyd over here. Usyk was brilliant. What could AJ have done better? Now, this is a really tricky question because AJ's got to play to his strengths. I'm not going to sit here and say that AJ could have jabbed and moved better because that's not AJ. AJ doesn't have that in his toolbox. He's not that type of fighter, even though Eddie Hearn and AJ's trainers would have you believe that AJ's Floyd Mayweather right here. He's not. He's not a boxer in that sense, not a true boxer in the Pernell Whitaker sense of the word. He's a puncher. He's a knockout artist. If he tags you, he's going to take you out. Don't let the second Andy Ruiz fight confuse you. He boxed well that fight, but he's still not a boxer in that sense. He doesn't have the tools to get his Sugar Ray Leonard on, or Purnell, or Willie Pep. That's not AJ. So the trick here is for AJ to play to his strengths, and that's what he didn't do. He needed to try and knock out Usyk. He's a lighter dude. He's not going to hold his punches as well as a natural heavyweight. Try and knock him out, cut off the ring, put his back up against the ropes. Didn't see any of it. So ultimately, dominant decision for Usyk, can't complain. Where next for AJ? Who knows? There's a rematch clause in there. Who wants to see that rematch? Not me. How long are you going to give AJ to fix those fundamental issues? What, 2-3 years? Because that's how long he needs. What on the Fury fight now? Well, that's gone by the wayside. Fury is basically Usyk as a natural heavyweight, right? He boxes very similar, same sort of traits. Who wants to see that fight? That fight's, the unification's all but gone by the wayside now. Who wants to see that? Not me. A disappointing night, but feels like the chickens have come home to roost a little bit. As a boxer, if you lack fundamental and you're faced with a dude who trades in fundamental, for me, you're always going to come out short. And that's ultimately what happened tonight. As upsetting as it is for AJ fans all around the world. That's been another video. If you like the content, be sure to smash the like button. If you're new around here, hit the subscribe. And as always, I've been Cameron. Until next time.